Happy Monday, everybody. Good to see you here. So welcome, everybody, to today's Job Search Live. My name is Hannah Morgan. I'm the Career Sherpa. I'm going to be talking about this week's Summary Sunday, which is called Thinking Differently. And I have put a link to that in the chat box, wherever that is, right? You can see that there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Hey, Bob. Good to see you. Is this my friend, Bob Gordon? How are you? Um, Yay! It is my friend. I've been thinking about you. Hope all is well in your part of the world. Hugs to you. Um, So I'm talking today about Summary Sunday, thinking differently about job search and career. And the link to this week's Summary Sunday is in the comments. If you need to see it, it's there. Um, Let me just start off by saying that never during the pandemic did I say we were in unprecedented times, because I hate that phrase. But as we head into this next phase of whatever it is, later pandemic, whatever, we need to think about things differently, and I think a lot of us already are. The last year has caused us all to sort of reevaluate what's important to us, and to be able to really think more about what's going to bring us joy and happiness in the work that we do. But let's also think about how we job search as well. All of those strategies and things that we've been doing for the past 9-12 months to help look for a job, maybe those were never going to work anyway. Maybe we should rethink what it is we're doing. So that's what today is about, to just get you thinking differently about your job, how you look for work, what things really are. And so there are lots of articles in this week's summary. Let me just sort of review what they are all about. And then I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes maybe about each one and tell you sort of the nuggets behind each article and what the takeaway or the action that I want you to take from each one of these. So we're going to talk about, for the older job seeker, experience versus relevance, and what that means. In the final stages of your job search, there's a really great tip from Dr. Don Graham that I want to remind you of. Something about owning your strengths and being able to tell people and to identify yourself what your strengths are. Enhancing your resume. I never talk about resumes, but every once in a while I throw that in because I think it is important for people to know. A productivity tip, and this is a hat tip to somebody in my Motivation Monday group that mentioned this, and I love the idea. I'm going to talk about Clubhouse for a second because that's one of the things we should all know about. 7 Commandments of Leadership Post-Pandemic, and the new book by Tom Peters, and where the jobs will be after the pandemic. So those are all the different articles that were in this week's Summary Sunday. But first and foremost, I want you to sort of keep this in mind. For those of you that are long-term unemployed, right? A crumpled $20 bill is still worth $20. So no matter how defeated you might feel, how discouraged, how unvaluable, you are still worth what you were worth pre-pandemic, back when you had a job. So don't let anybody, or don't let yourself, tell you otherwise, okay? Because you are still just as valuable. Hi, Aline. Good to see you. Ooh, yeah. So Aline is going to a virtual job fair, and yeah, make sure I come back and talk about that, because I've got some tips on those. Those are different. Okay, so the first article was about by my friend Mark Miller on Career Pivot, and please go read that, because I don't know if I can quite do it justice. But for the older job seeker, there are a lot of people who say, I have 20 plus years of experience, I can do anything. That's not true. You can't do anything, because what is important to your future employer, to an employer today, is not what you've done in the past, because we're not going back there ever again. It is, how are you going to use your skills to move my business forward in today's economy? That is what is important to an employer. So they want to see what you can do moving forward. That means you've got to embrace some of the newer technologies and the new models for doing business, and how you can use some of those new skills that you've been learning about during your pandemic to help a future employer be better and do better. So if you're going to fall back on some of the same old tricks that you used 20 years ago, are those tricks for growth still going to work in today's economy? I don't know. I think it will depend, but you want to put that modern spin, that contemporary spin, utilizing new tools or processes or knowledge or data to help that employer understand how you are still relevant, that you're not relying just on your 20 years of experience. And so that's something that's really important for job seekers. And I want to make sure that you really sort of try to think about that. How are you going to prove you are relevant, that your knowledge is modern, contemporary, and will still work today? So that's my big push on that. The next article it wasn't an article, it was a video. Here's the deal. That's what Dawn Graham does, Dr. Dawn Graham. If you don't listen to her podcast, her radio show on Thursdays, I think it is, go find her. She's awesome. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn, go follow her. So Dr. Dawn says, in those final stages of your job search, when you're interviewing, this is the one thing you should never not do. You should always keep the job search going. Do not stop your job search until you are in your new job for 1 month. I know, doesn't that sound crazy? But there's so much that can happen between the interviewing phase and the time you've been in the job for 30 days that could make you change your mind, or that could make the employer change their mind. And you want to have options. And if you stop job searching and you turn down interview offers and you say, I've got something else in the pipeline right now, if you don't keep exploring your options, you will have 0 options. And I always want you to have options. So don't stop your job search, and that's what Dawn Graham's video is about. It doesn't matter if you're in your final interview and you really love this job and it's the perfect job. Keep going, keep looking. The next article was about self-assessment, and this came from LinkedIn. It is a whole bunch of different articles about the importance of doing some self-assessment and knowing what you're good at doing, and how to talk about that and how to sort of leverage that. But I always say, and I've said since the beginning, that the first step in your job search should be that self-assessment, knowing what your strengths and values and priorities are. Because once you know that, that's what you're going to communicate, and then that's what you're going to put in your marketing materials, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and then you're going to find the market for that. But you have to start by knowing who you are, and there's some ideas on how to do that. And so if you haven't yet taken the time to reflect and self-assess, there's some ideas on how to do that. And it's never too late to do. So let's say you've been job searching for 3 months or 9 months or 12 months. It's never too late to go back and reassess, because you may discover something about why you haven't found that perfect job yet. It could be that underlying that you're not pursuing the right match for what you really want. And that is something that you should do. So that's about self-assessment. The next one is Adrienne Tom, Career Impressions. She wrote about how to put achievements on your resume. I have seen a fair amount of resumes recently, and even LinkedIn profiles, that still talk about the person in terms of what they did. Responsible for this, responsible for that. That's not what a resume is today. A resume is using achievements. And so you need to make sure that you convert that responsibility, responsible for, into achievements. This is what I did, and this was the outcome or result. And in Adrienne's article, she has a bunch of questions that you can ask yourself to help you uncover some of those accomplishments or achievements to put on your resume and in your LinkedIn profile. Because it's about asking questions, and that will help you get to what you're looking for. So instead of saying, I manage teams and hoping that was enough, manage multidisciplinary teams of up to 200 people. You hear the difference? If somebody just says they manage teams, but someone else said they managed multidisciplinary teams of 200 people, who has better skills? You're more likely to want to speak to or understand what the achievement or the value enhanced resume statements are. So the whole list of those in Adrian's post. So I hope you will read that because it's very valuable. It is how to add achievements and measurements to your executive resume. I'm going to take a second here just to talk to Aileen. Aileen has a virtual career fair today, and for anybody that's ever been through a virtual career fair, it's sort of a different experience. This would be true for whether it's virtual or in person, but I want you, Aileen, to look at the companies that are going to be participating and pick 5 that you would like to speak with or you're interested in learning more. I hope that there are some companies that you are interested in. If you, so 5, your plan is to sort of try and get in line, virtual line for about 5 companies where you have interest. I can't guarantee that you'll get through all of them, but for each one of those 5 companies, you're going to have to check their website to see what jobs they have available and which jobs you think you'd be a good fit for. You're going to look at LinkedIn to see if you know anybody who works there. You're going to just find out a little bit about what the company does to see if you're interested, because one of the questions that they might ask in this career fair is, what do you know about us, right? So know something about the company, see what jobs they have available. If they don't ever hire for the kind of role that you're looking for, there's no sense waiting in line for that company, right? There's no sense submitting your resume if they don't have the kind of work you're looking for. So you need to figure that out. I would think 5 is a good number. So usually what happens is each company has their own room, quote unquote, a virtual room, and you wait in line, sort of in queue, until the person in the room is done. And then you go into the room and you text. It used to be text. You might be able to video now, but in the olden days, you had to text, type in your questions and submit your resume gets submitted through a master resume submission thing. So every platform's a little bit different, so it's hard to say exactly what to know to expect, but I do want you to know something about each company and explain why you want to work there. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview. I guess just it's a fair thing to say that you're not going to get hired on the spot and they're not interviewing you on the spot. So you don't need to prepare for either of those things. It's just a chance for you to ask some smart questions about the organization around sort of, why is this position available, or, what are the most important things, qualities and skills you're looking for from a candidate who is going to be pursuing a position in this role. You may even ask, what do you like most about working for this organization? So have some questions ready to go about the company based on the little bit of research that you've done. Yeah. If you know people inside the company, I definitely connect with them after the virtual career fair. So I hope that gave you a little bit of, and you need to be able to tell people really succinctly the answer to tell me about yourself or what are you looking for. Both of those are the same question. Tell me about yourself. What are you looking for? So that is your elevator pitch. I am with expertise in da-da-da-da-da-da. These are some interesting things about me, and this is the kind of role that I'm looking for. So hope that helps. The next article is by Mel Robbins, who I had never heard of before. Shame on me. But she has the 5-second rule. And this is great for people who procrastinate. Me, right? So she walks you through the 5-second rule, and it's the 5 rules of the 5-second rule, right? First, the moment you have the instinct to do something, do it. Next, oops, I missed it. Next, take action. Oh, when you next take action on it, then you must push yourself. You've got to make yourself do it, even though your brain and you're saying no. Fourth, move within 5 seconds, and then fifth, or your brain will kill it. So those are the 5 things that you need to know about the 5-second rule. And what, in my words, really what that means is, for procrastinators, we can think of every reason in the world not to do something, right? We come up with the idea, or when someone tells us you should do this, and we're like, yeah, but, and then our brain starts thinking of all of the reasons why we can't do it. This 5-second rule just gets you to do it and try it and see what happens. So go read that article, because I really enjoyed her thinking on that. How many of you have heard of the newest platform, which is probably at least a couple of months old now, called Clubhouse? It's basically a virtual chat over voice, audio only. So imagine Zoom, but no video. And there are lots of people that can come listen to this room. Usually the rooms have the people who are hosting on Clubhouse have a topic that they are talking about. Here's the hit, and you can learn some great things, and there's great networking going on, because you can talk with people who are in that Clubhouse room with you. The problem is you have to be invited, you have to get an invite, and you have to have an iPhone or use iOS, which means you could be using your iPad too, I suppose. But it is invitation only. So in order to go try Clubhouse, you need somebody to invite you. I can't invite you because I'm not on it. I made the conscious decision not to, but this article that was in my summary Sunday is called "Why I Was Wrong About Clubhouse and You Are Too." So it's a good overview of what Clubhouse is and what it isn't. And I've seen so many of my coaching friends, job search coaches, hosting programs. They're called, I don't know what they're called, Clubhouse get-togethers, whatever they are. You can see people all the time promoting them. And it's worth checking one out so that you can make an informed decision for you. It's great for personal brand awareness, building an audience. So you could host your own show or your own Clubhouse meetup, whatever it's called. And on a topic that is related to your career or industry, and people could find it. Or you could go join one that's already being hosted by somebody else who's famous in your industry or your field, and see what people are in there. It's a great way to network and meet people. It's businessy, but not too businessy. So hopefully you would enjoy that. So if you haven't checked out Clubhouse yet, I definitely recommend that you do. I have always been a huge fan of Tom Peters. He's just the nicest guy. So he was interviewed by Vala Afshar on ZDNet. And Vala Afshar is somebody I've been following for a long time. He's a great marketer and thought leader in the space of marketing. But he has been doing these video interviews with people. And one of the people that he video interviewed was Tom Peters, about Tom Peters' newest book, which is called Extreme Humanism. Oh, Excellence Now, Extreme Humanism. And so in this article that is about Tom Peters, Tom Peters talks about the 7 commandments of leadership in today's world, post-pandemic. So it's definitely a good read. And I don't even think you need to be a manager or a leader to take away some really powerful points from that article and Tom Peters. So I hope you do take a minute to read it. Hi, Andy Hayter. Nice to have you here. Okay. So the last article, and let me see if I can even do this. I'm going to try and share this with you and see if this will work. I'm wondering if you can see my screen. So this is a report done by Burning Glass, and they are the masters of crunching numbers. And so they have, and I'm hoping you can see this. Can you? Yeah. They've covered, they've looked at the data, and they've analyzed where the jobs are predicted to be post sort of now and through the recovery period after the pandemic. And they identified these basic economies where growth is projected: the readiness economy, the logistics economy, the green economy, the remote economy, and the automated economy. And those are the 5 different economies they looked at. And then, of course, there's this wonderful graphic that shows you where the most amount of growth is going to be in logistics and the Internet of Things and supply chain and manufacturing of pharma. This helps you and they've sort of given each one of these different industries or economies, tied it back to the jobs that are growing. So I just thought that this was really interesting, and it helps you sort of look at things differently than we've always looked at things. It puts it in more of a problem-solving framework. So I'm hoping that that this download, which you can download anywhere in my newsletter, it was the last article you can download for free. I think they ask you for your email address, but that's fine. You can provide it if you want. So that is what that was all about. And the different economies. If you understand that, then you can say, oh, I've always wanted to morph into something that's green. How can I take my knowledge and experience and do that? And you can look at some of the jobs that are tagged or flagged as green. So I think it could be helpful in sort of thinking about, if you were to transition, how you might do that differently now. And one other word on that, if I could. Everybody is changing careers and or industries. So for people that are telling me it's taking me a really long time, and part of the reason for that is that I'm changing industries or changing jobs, we're all changing industries and changing jobs, because the world today is not the same as it was when we left, right? There's so much that is changing. The economy is different. The needs of consumers is different. Where the money is going to be is different. So we're all struggling to figure this out, which means that you have to connect the dots for your future employer. Just because you're coming out of one industry, maybe it's out of hospitality, hotels, there's a lot of transferable knowledge and information that you know that would be very valuable in other businesses. It's all about like the cading and the coordinating of details and whatever else that is. Your job is to take those transferables and relate them to the new job or the new industry that you want to get into. And you can do that. It just takes some practice and some research. But most importantly, have conversations with people who work in fields or jobs or industries that you are interested in, and say, hey, I want to move into pharmaceuticals. I'd love to have a quick conversation with you to see where some of my skills might fit, but more importantly, really get a handle on what skills are necessary in this field to succeed. If you go around having conversations with people around those topics, they're happy to talk to you. If they can, you know, they'll answer the questions to the best of their ability. And from their answers, you will learn a lot. They will help you understand how to connect the dots. So I'm hoping that that's one of the things that you put more attention on. If you are, even if you're not planning on drastically switching, having those informational conversations with people. Hey, I've worked for 10 years in this field, in this type of company, but I'm looking to do something different. So I want to better understand how this kind of process gets done in your organization. Right? Because every company is different in how they process things and how the culture is and how they treat customers and how they treat employees and all of that stuff. And the only way you're going to learn that is by talking to people. And I don't want that conversation to be revealed during the interview, because by that time it's too late. You're already in front of them. You want to know that stuff before you get in front of them. So I hope that helps. There were also one is two places I was mentioned this week, and thanks to Linda Healer, which is a great last name for the work that she does. Linda Healer is a coach, a life coach, and her company is called Live Inspired. She asked me some questions in a podcast, and it was, so she's titled it Cracking the Myths of Job Search and Careers, and that's linked in my summary Sunday. You'll also see answers that I provided to HR Bartender about when to tell your employer that you are pregnant. So if you are somebody who has found themselves pregnant and looking for work, that can be sort of tricky. When do you tell your employer or future employer that you are actually pregnant? And so there's four or five their insight on handling that scenario. All of them are right, none of them are right. So go, if that is your unique problem, or you know somebody who has that problem, when to tell your employer you are pregnant. So there we go. That was Summary Sunday. Did you have a favorite article? Do you have a question? I am going to put this up, Andy. Andy says, I have the skills, but have not been able to move the companies to hire me. Not getting reasons, although ageism is apparent. I talk to people in my area of expertise and industry. Good. You're doing all the right things. Here's the thing to know, Andy. You will not get every interview, a job for every interview you interview for. You're not a fit for every job. Part of this is they're trying to figure out, will you be able to solve our problems? That's part of what the interview is all about. When you say that ageism is let me start by saying, you're never going to know the real reason why you weren't selected. Companies won't tell you the real reason because they don't need to, and it could put them in legal jeopardy. So one of the things that you see some people say is find out why they decided not to move forward with you. And I say, don't bother to ask that question. If they really want to tell you, they will. Otherwise, that information is not that important, and it's unique to that company and whatever. Your best bet is to say, hey, I really would be open to another opportunity in this company. Can you think of any reason why I wouldn't be a fit for something else in this company? That would be a good question to ask. So then you can pursue other opportunities and just let that one go. The other thing about ageism is, how do they know how old you are? Because I've met a lot of really young 60-year-olds. Right? And if anyone has been following social media, Madonna is at it again, doing her, sort of catching the media's attention thing. Madonna is age 60, and her body and her mind move just the way they did at age 25. So while ageism is a thing, you don't want to participate in that game. So don't let people know how old you are. Remove your graduation dates from your resume, from your education. Only talk about the last 15 years of your experience on your resume. I mean, those are some basic things that we can do. But more importantly, Andy, what I want you to do is go read that article that the first one in my Summary Sunday that was written by Mark Miller about experience versus relevance. Because I think that if you really try and process the concept of what he's talking about there, and the book that the author of the book he interviewed for that, it was a phenomenal interview. So I want everyone to go listen to that. I think you'll begin to understand how you can show that you are a contemporary. But here's the other thing that I want everyone to keep in mind. If you get into the company, or you look at the company employees on Facebook, and every single one of them is 25 years old, do you really think that you would enjoy working with a bunch of 25-year-olds if you're the oldest person there? I don't think you'd have a lot in common with 25-year-olds, and that you would enjoy that kind of an environment. So sometimes that age is a thing, right? And if that truly is, and you can check that out by looking at the employees that work there, then maybe you wouldn't want to work there anyway. So it's a blessing in disguise. Yes, ageism happens. Yes, it's illegal, but your first battle and first priority is being youthful and relevant and contemporary so that people want to hire you. That's our job. So Andy says that he's young for 60. He says no dates and the last 15 years is limiting on what my skills are. I don't necessarily understand exactly what that says, but that might be part of the problem. If your claim to fame was 20 years ago, that the greatest thing that you did was 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, and you haven't done anything great since, that's problematic, because an employer wants to know that they're getting somebody who is at the top of their game. And if you peaked 20 years ago and you've just been eking out, maybe they're sensing that. Maybe that's what's coming across. If you haven't done a mock interview, Andy, you might want to do that and see if people who LinkedIn has a free mock interview tool. So you may want to check that out and see what the artificial intelligence feedback is. Are you coming across as arrogant or whatever else they might say? So yeah. So here is Andy's sort of response to shows building skills over time. That's not important to the employer. The employer wants to know what skills and talents you have to offer today. That is relevance. That's what we're talking about when we have relevance. I don't care that you went through Y2K and you made those adjustments. I want to know how would you respond? What are your ideas for handling post-pandemic? So they don't care about the fact that you grew skills over time. That's not important to them. If you're older in your career, more seasoned in your career, you couldn't have gotten to where you've gotten without building skills. They want to know today and moving forward, what do you bring to the table? I think that you're putting too much emphasis on the older skills and your career history rather than your career future. That's my take. Okay. I just wanted to let you know that we're getting near the end here. Are there any other questions that you have that you want to throw out there? Please go, if you haven't read already, the Summary Sunday. And if you don't get my Summary Sunday, when you're reading that article, you will see on the sidebar or on the bottom of my webpage a place to sign up to get updates. And those updates, that's my weekly Summary Sunday. So if you want to get those delivered to your own inbox at oh so early morning on Sunday when I send it out, sign up. All right. Have a great week, everybody. It's going to be a good one, and enjoy. Take care.